Hello and Assalamu alaikum. My name is Tariq Ahmed. I'm so grateful to all of you who have come back for the second episode in the series, The Democratic Way, a taraqa podcast series. Taraqa is the name of my Substack. It's taraqa.substack.com. That's if you're visiting on your phone, then it's going to ask you to download the app. But if you visit on a computer, you can go straight there. You don't have to download an app, and you can subscribe. And if that's complicated, you're on your phone and you don't want to get off your phone, then go to YouTube and you can subscribe to the YouTube channel Freed by Islam, which is where I'm also uploading these videos. So, again, thank you so much. And I would like to again start with a prayer, a very quick one. Oh Allah, protect us from every tariq, except the one who brings good. And so I ask Allah to make me a tariq who brings good through this podcast. And I'm so glad that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guided me to think about this hadith. This hadith that I'm going to put up on the screen now. Kindness is not to be found in anything, but that it adds to its beauty. And it is not withdrawn from anything, but it makes it defective. And this is a very important reminder for myself because politics has become devoid of kindness in America, unfortunately. And I'm so grateful to the subscribers and especially the ones who have left comments. Those comments are jewels for me. They are imbued with kindness, and I'm so grateful. And I'm afraid for the day when I find a comment that has no kindness in it. Um, I will obviously think of them as defective comments, but they will be hard to read, I'm sure. And in a sense, it's very hard even just to approach this topic. Let's dive into it. This podcast series is looking at the lack of choice in the 2024 election. And it started because of commentators, and these are commentators that I like, commentators I respect, online commentators who have again and again castigated people who did not vote for Kamala Harris. Just castigated them. I mean, I'm not talking about people who are pro-Trump people. I'm talking about people who are pro-Kamala Harris people, but they cannot let go. This is 2025. This is, late September 2025, and they cannot let go of the fact that Ms. Harris lost, and they blame terribly and relentlessly the people who didn't vote for her. And this podcast series, it exists because one day I just couldn't take it. I had, as I mentioned in the first episode, I was very tired, and it was so upsetting to be told that I was to blame, when in fact the blame has a lot to do with the fact that we didn't get a choice. I want you to ask yourselves why you can't even name a viable third candidate. Why? And why is that good? Why is that good for democracy? Why is that the Democratic way? The Democratic way has become, and I'm making fun of democracy here, and I'm making fun of the Democratic Party, or I'm attacking them. And I'm trying to do that with kindness, trying to attack them with kindness. But the Democratic way has become choose between the Republican candidate and the Democratic Party candidate. That's it. That's not an accident. We have gotten to this point because of the deliberate manipulation of both political parties and their leaders. And we're going to talk about that in the course of these podcast episodes. I can tell you whose name I put in that question mark spot. I can tell you who I voted for, but I didn't vote for them. I voted against both of these people. And that's a terrible thing. It is so different. It is just so utterly different to have a candidate who has inspired you. It is so completely different to have a candidate who has filled you with hope for change. In fact, at one point, I thought the 2024 election could be one of those situations. I was so sad with the president that we had elected in 2020. We'll talk about that election, I think, on the next podcast because it's part of the lack of choice here. But when Mr. Biden finally let go of the candidacy for the Democratic Party for 2024, when he finally let go, I want you to remember that moment. Just think back to that moment. For me, I mean, I was overjoyed. I was posting in social media. I'm with her. I was posting in social media. I hope that I'll be able to campaign for her. I'm talking about the person who was the Democratic candidate. Because when, despite the fact that she was part of that administration, I was really hoping for change. I was really hoping for, even for her just to tell us that we would have change. So I was hopeful and I was ready to campaign. And to her credit, and I'm being very frank about this, to her credit, she didn't lie. She didn't lie to us. She told us exactly what she was going to do. She didn't have to. If she had simply said, it's 2024, we can't go back to 2016. If she had simply said that, I think most of the country would have been fine. But she didn't. She told us the truth, that she was going to be just like Mr. Biden, that she agreed with all of his policies. And that was why I voted against her. So I crossed off both of the faces that you see on this. I mean, I was not going to vote for either of them. And was my choice meaningful? The person that I voted for, in the sense that there wasn't another candidate on all 50 ballots, 50 states ballots. And actually, I mean, come on, it's not just the states that get to vote for president. There's the territories, there's Puerto Rico, there's Guam. The district even gets to vote when it comes to president. So across all of these ballots, were there more than 2 names on every single state? Do you know even? Do you know why there wouldn't be? Well, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that because what happened in 2024 is that we were given this choice that isn't a real choice. We were told it's the only choice. There wasn't so much as a primary by which Ms. Harris was given the nomination. We'll talk about the meaningfulness of primaries in the Democratic Party and how that meaningfulness has become less and less over time, but we'll talk about that in other episodes. Again, I'm doing my best to make sure that this is a podcast that approaches the topic with kindness. And there isn't enough kindness in our political process these days. I mean, we have gotten to the terrible point that within the past 365 days, there have been multiple political assassinations. There have been multiple attempts to assassinate for political reasons. This is horrible. Our country is plagued by gun violence, just ordinary, terrible gun violence, domestic violence, mass shootings. We're plagued by that. But the scourge has only gotten worse now that we have political violence. And sadly, that political violence is accompanied by tremendous amounts of anger in political rhetoric. It's something we should honestly back away from. Kindness is not removed from a thing except that it becomes defective. To the extent that our politics is bereft of kindness, it's become defective. Throughout this series, I'm probably going to mention at least one candidate who I think is doing the right thing. And I can mention more than one political candidate, not just in the United States. I am reminded of the example of the former Prime Minister of New Zealand, Jacinda Ardern, when her country was attacked by an Australian gunman who went to Christchurch and massacred Muslims in that city, in the mosque, in more than one mosque. The amount of kindness and humanity, the quality of humanity, the amount of kindness that Jacinda Ardern showed, it was inspiring. It was truly inspiring. Right now, in New York City, the Democratic candidate for mayor is a man who has shown so much kindness in how he has responded to attacks, just outright attacks on debate stages, on questions from reporters, podcasts that he's appeared on where I've gone, oh my God, these people are so mean to him. And it's extraordinary, the example of kindness that Zoran Mamdani displays during the campaign. It is one of the things that I most admire about him. So again, I want you to take away from this podcast episode that ask yourself, is that a meaningful choice, what you're looking at on the screen between these two candidates? Is that enough? Is that enough for democracy, that we have to choose between the candidates that those parties choose for us? Is that democracy? That we don't get to have debates where we even hear a third opinion or a fourth opinion or a fifth opinion? Is it enough for democracy that you don't get to vote for somebody, but you have to vote against them? All of the commentators who are mad at people like me who did not vote for Kamala Harris, all of those people are mad because we didn't vote against the man on the screen, Mr. Trump. They're mad that we didn't vote against him, right? They don't have a person to offer to us that we would vote for, and they don't have an excuse for why we didn't get a choice, and they don't have an excuse for the political system that we have today. They just ask us to live with it. Well, the best form of protest, in my opinion, was to vote against, and that's what I did. And I hope you'll come back for the next podcast episode where we talk about how we ended up with the kind of choice like this.